Welcome back. One of the big stories out of the United States this week could end up affecting Canada. That story is that Michigan adopted a so-called right-to-work law, joining a group of states where wages tend to be lower, but job growth is sometimes stronger. For a look at how this law works, here it is, your weekly West Block Primer. It used to be a given that if you were in a union shop, you paid your union dues, whether you liked it or not, and in return, you got union representation. Now, some people said that tipped the scales too far in favor of the unions by making them rich and powerful. So, in response, some states started passing what they call right-to-work legislation. That means you don't have to pay your union dues, it's your choice, but the union still has to represent you. Now, the unions say this creates a problem. How do they convince members to continue paying for their services that they can now get for free? So, the balance, they say, tips too far in favor of the corporations. So far, 24 U.S. states have become right-to-work states, the latest being Michigan, the state that used to be a bastion for organized labor. The supporters of right-to-work say it always results in economic growth by attracting new business, but the evidence for that is debatable. Its opponents say that it simply drives down wages and enriches profits, and on that, the evidence is beyond doubt. Well, joining us now to debate what impact those changes could have in Canada is former NDP Chief of Staff Anne McGrath, joining me here in Ottawa.
Good morning.
And in Toronto, my old colleague, Conservative Senator Pam Wallin. Good morning to you all.
How are you?
The proposition on the table today is, what does Canada have to do to remain competitive in this newly evolving world where we have right to work in 24 states? And I'm going to start with you.
Well, I mean, I think that the thing that people have to remember is that unions are easy to attack. Particularly, I think right now they're an easy target, I think, for a lot of people. But what you have to remember is that unions are essential to a thriving middle class. And a thriving middle class is important for the economy. So I think that attacking unions doesn't make good sense economically and for a number of other reasons. It also doesn't make good sense from the point of view of having a thriving democracy either. And when you look at the right-to-work states in the United States, you can see that they have higher poverty levels, their wages are lower, and they don't have their middle class is not functioning well. And I don't know why we would ever want to go down the path of the United States with the critical problems that they have in their economy right now. I don't think anybody is suggesting, Anne, that we're going down that road. The United States, as we all know, is facing a serious fiscal cliff. The auto industry in states like Michigan price themselves out of business with high wage rates that they couldn't sustain. And I think what you see are people coming back to a more common sense approach, which is, do you want a job? Do you want to see your economy return to some kind of level where it can generate jobs? We, fortunately, in this country, have an economy that's the envy of the entire world. So I don't think we're looking at those issues. But the separate and related issue is, however, the question of union transparency. Unions need to become a little bit more realistic and a little bit more competitive in this day and age. And start to play by the same rules that they want their governments to play by, that they want the companies that they work for and with to play by, which is to be open and transparent. Let's find out what unions are spending on organizing and education and training, and how much they're spending on donations to the NDP. Not everybody who belongs to a union, surprisingly, supports the NDP. So why would I want my union dues to go to support a political party I don't believe in? Let's make it open, let's make it transparent, and let's let people make some choices about how their money is spent. Incredibly transparent. I mean, I was a member of a union, and that union used to send out the salary information to all of its locals. So, but not all do. No, yes, they do, because they have to, for one thing, because they are, it's covered under the Canada Labour Code. So the bill that was passed just a couple of days ago in the House of Commons makes no sense. It's basically, there was not a problem there. It's just a way of targeting, and in my view, it's a way of targeting a group that's easy to attack. Because unions, number one, it's already covered through the Canada Labour Code. They have to provide that information. And number two, not only do they provide that information, but in most cases, actually, members even get to vote on these kinds of things. If you but then I don't understand the problem.
If this is information that you have to, no, but if you have to provide this information to Revenue Canada and to members, why not make it public? This is a huge, the unions in this country actually have tax-exempt status. People who pay dues, that is a tax break. This is public money. This is revenue that is not going into government coffers and being spent on taxpayers.
Yeah, they have an obligation to be transparent and accountable to their members. They don't have an obligation to be transparent to the Conservative government. The Conservative government
no, to the public, not to the Conservative government, to the public. This is
the public
they have a public tax break.
The public was not clamoring for this. I don't think that
86% of union members want more transparency on the part of their unions. This is union members, and more than 80% of the Canadian public.
And the transparency that's in that bill is it already exists. They already have that. There's no reason to go down that path. And I think that I actually take a lot of encouragement from your comments and other people, other Conservatives that I've heard, that there is no relationship between this and the right-to-work legislation in the United States.
We don't need right-to-work legislation in an economy, as I said, that's the envy of the world. But what the signal is, and I think what we see by looking at some of the actions in the U.S., is that when your economy gets into trouble, and there's a lot of factors in it, but in many industries now competing globally, you can't have the kind of unlimited wage rates and endless bargaining that's been going on. And we see states that are trying to recreate an economy and therefore jobs for their people, taking some pretty strong measures. Touch wood, in Canada, with the kind of management we've got, we're not looking at that. But as a key player in the economy, and union members are key players in this economy, I think that they need to be subjected to the same kinds of rules and regulations that I am as a member of Parliament, as a senator, that our government is, that most companies are.
Last word to you.
That bill is it deals with a problem that doesn't exist. It is going to be expensive, incredibly expensive.
It's not expensive.
I think that the Parliamentary Budget Officer has already said it's going to be $90 million.
I've got to wrap it at this point. Anne McGrath, Senator Pam Wallin, terrific debate. Thank you both very much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.